Hi everyone, Aidan here with etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Swagman XTC2 Tilt on our 2020 Toyota RAV4. The XTC is a platform style bike rack. It holds the bike in these wheel hoops and primarily by our frame up here using our frame hook. Now because it uses a frame hook, we do want to be cautious of carbon frame bikes and probably avoid using those because frame contact can damage it. And then with alternative frame bikes, you don't have a good solid attachment point up top, so you probably are going to need a bike adapter bar to make sure that you're getting solid contact with the bike. Other than that though, it's going to be able to support 35 pounds per bike, so maybe good for some of our lighter bikes like our road bike here today. This does have the ability to tilt away like the name suggests. We've got a silver pin and clip at the very bottom of the bike rack that you can remove, and that'll allow us to tilt the rack down. You can grab the bike rack by the mast there for a good hand point to make sure you've got it tilting down safely. And it gives you plenty of room to open up the tailgate of the RAV4 here and have plenty of room to get stuff out of the back. Maybe sit down before or after your ride and change your shoes. For more of an entry-level rack, it is nice to see how far it does tilt and know that if you want access to the back, you don't need to have the bikes unloaded. Just pushes right back up into place, and because of where that weight is centered, once it's back up, you can just come down hands-free and replace that pin to secure it. But it's nice that whenever you release that pin, the weight doesn't immediately come down on top of you. So you can get to a much more manageable place up top to tilt it. Now, releasing the bike, you want to start at the wheel hoops, getting these straps undone on either side just by pulling them off of the tabs. And then for the wheel hook, you can press in the gray button to totally release it from the mast and give us a little bit more room. It does have spots where you can add padlocks separately to secure those, but it doesn't come with it. And once those are removed, you can lift your bike up and over that center mast. Now, because the center mast is there, it does represent a bit of an obstacle when you're loading and unloading. So not the easiest thing in the world, but luckily you can't fit super heavy bikes on here anyway. And it's not too bad to lift them over, but it's just something to be mindful of that with that, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Now, as far as this goes, it doesn't really have any folding feature. You can fold the mast down by removing this pin, lowering it down to either side, and resecuring it. Although it can be a bit of a clearance issue sometimes with these hand knobs. But it'll go to either end if you want to drive with it in that position. And this way, if you want to leave it in the hitch between rides, it's more out of the way of the license plate and gives you access to open up the back end. But I'll go ahead and pop this up right now. We can take the opportunity to get some measurements. We'll start off with ground clearance. At the back end, you've got about 16 inches of ground clearance to right there, and pretty close to that, you've got 12 inches to the bottom right here. It does sit a little bit low to the ground, and it gives you some rise in the shank with your hitch. So I think you should be pretty okay because it does sit closer, but just be mindful of that when you are driving around with steep driveways and hills. For the distance added to the back, it is going to be sticking out 20 inches to the outer point right here. So it does sit very close, even with the lack of folding. I think it should be pretty good. The closest point to the vehicle is 4.5 inches, so there's plenty of space there. I will say with the bike loaded up, it was a lot closer, and that's going to depend on the bike that you've got. But with our road bike, there was enough room, and luckily, there's not too much shaker play in the actual bike rack, so I'm not too worried about vehicle contact. Now, one thing kind of unique about this is that the sides actually fold upright like this and can be locked back in with those pins that we removed. Now, on your vehicle, this doesn't really do a whole lot just because it's not giving us any better visibility, but for storage in your garage, this does make the whole bike rack a lot more compact and easier to live with it without it in the hitch. Speaking of the hitch, it's fitting with our 2" by 2" receiver tube using the included adapter sleeve, but it'll work with 1¼ inch as well. And it does come with an anti-rattle bolt It doesn't lock right out of the gate. You can get one of those separately if you'd like, but that anti-rattle is going to keep it solid in the hitch. And overall, as far as entry-level platform racks go, this is a pretty okay option. It's definitely clunky and hard to use at times, but it's nice that you have that tilting feature if you want to get to the back without unloading your bikes. The only other thing I'd maybe recommend looking at is the Ceres Freedom. It's going to be an entry-level option again, but it does give you 60 pounds capacity per bike. So if you need something for heavier bikes, that would be the way to go. Thanks for watching.
Here on our test course, we'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action. This simulates turning corners or evasively maneuvering. Once we get to the full speed bumps, we'll see the up and down action. This will be just like driving in and out of a parking lot, parking garage, or driveway. Once we get to the alternating speed bumps, we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or pothole or driving over uneven pavement.